Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Chamber of Commerce City Council conversation with a council candidate from Ward 6. I'm with Councilmember Elizabeth Foreman, and we're going to hop right into our questions today. Okay. Councilmember, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, again, let's just get right to it.
All right.
Okay. So first off,
Yes.
What should the City Council do to boost economic development and quality job creation and retention?
I am so glad you asked that. I was thinking about that this morning. A lot of people in the city, they talk about development and how council is very anti-development, but we're actually not. I would say maybe on the residential side, we wouldn't mind pushing pause. For me, I think that the University of Oklahoma makes us a huge draw. We should be for tech companies, research, all sorts of stuff, because we have 20,000 interns, right, available to do this. You all, with the chamber and economic development and everything, we need to have more dialogue. I can't think of a time in my year and a half on council that we've actually sat down and sort of talked about how do we lure people in, what kind of package and offers can we bring. We did that with Emmy, which has turned out to be super beneficial in the pandemic world that we live in, but we need to do more things like that. So I work in Oklahoma City because there's no job in Norman that could pay me and give me the opportunities unless I'm at OU, which is still the state. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we need to meet with the chamber and economic development, and we need to really focus on not just residential development, but building construction and buildings. I do need my water.
Sure.
He was right. I was wrong. And focus more on that. I think that our residential situation is fine, personally. I don't hear people saying, oh, I wish I lived in a tract home on 60th and Highway 9. It's why don't we have more jobs? Why don't we have more high-paying, quality jobs in Norman? And I think that we have every tool available to us. We just need to come together, push pause on some of the heat of the other topics going on in Norman, and really focus on that.
Do you think, thinking about residential development, okay, so most, from what I hear at least from all sides, that we need more housing stock of all kinds, all shapes and sizes. So how do you balance then, the need, because of anticipated growth, anticipated development, thankfully our community is still growing. You look at our census, we keep adding people. Right. So we're going to need more housing stock. So how do you balance that with potentially putting a pause on residential development?
I think with residential development, we need to be very big picture on it. So because Oklahoma is the only state in the nation that we do not receive property taxes as municipal revenue, when we build these residences, right, they're all built at once and they all kind of have the same shelf life. So when pipes start going, roads start going, homes, their roof life, all this stuff. So things kind of devolve, and then people want to move and let's just build more, and there's no reinvestment back into these additional properties. So we just keep building. But what happens is that we keep building, and then we need to build roads, and we need to put in stoplights, which apparently cost $280,000. I have learned. So for every intersection, it's $280,000. Where do we get the money for that? We build out too much. We have to build new fire stations. A brand new fire truck is $1 million. I learned that from Chief King. More police presence, waste management services, all that, more trucks, etc. So we're building residential. We don't collect anything on that whatsoever. That is a cost to the city. So my focus is not so much keep building residential. I think we have an infill issue. I think we need to reinvest in our current housing market that we have, even if that means not bulldoze historic homes. I was the chair of the Historic District Commission. I would never approve that. But I do think that we need to look at what we have and reinvest in that. Do neighborhood revitalizations and push pause, because we are not recouping any money on residential build. It is only a cost to residents. Commercial and business investment brings money in. So that is, to me, hugely different, and the focus needs to start going there because we have finance issues.
Sure.
The city,
yeah.
So.
Well, but isn't the city though getting? I mean, you're getting utility fees as far as residences go. We're
breaking even.
Utility fees. You're getting. I mean, when we built our house almost 18 years ago now, I had to pay at the time, a wastewater connection fee that was supposed to build a north side treatment plant that we don't have. So there's all these fees and things that residential development's paying. And then I would suggest maybe that another side benefit, particularly you brought up Oklahoma being, having to operate off sales tax, is that the more people that are here, and that's potentially more sales tax that's going through the economy.
But they're working outside of Norman because we don't have businesses to employ them. They're like more, basically, right? Like more. So sorry, more. They're going to Oklahoma City. They're going to the metro. They're working there. They're eating there. They're shopping there before they come home, sort of thing. Hall Park. They are so mad at 24th and Norman that they flat out go to 19th and more. I don't know why. I think that's more congested. But on principle, so there are things that the city's not doing right, and they're not spending their money in Norman anyway, especially if they're not working here. So we need the jobs. I think the housing, like Ward 6 grew. Sorry, I just touched the mic. It's gonna be loud.
It's all right.
I'm not an interviewer. I'm really not, and that's okay. Just honest. My ward grew the most, and so my ward is only residential. I don't have local businesses. I think I have one, steel, couple of banks, fast food joints, and that's it. It's mostly residential. How is that beneficial to my ward? If we want to eat, we have to go all the way to the other side of town, and that takes too long, etc. We need to build in businesses. I'm less concerned about our population. We grew almost as much as Tulsa. I'm not that worried about it, quite honestly, and we shouldn't be. We need the businesses. We have the people. We have students. We have 20,000 guests come every year, and they're looking for something to do, and they're on the side of town where there's not much to do.
Right.
If we built more, they will stay on this side. We want it. It's there. That's what we need to target.
Well, we definitely want to work with the city on trying to grow businesses in town, so that's
Trying to
that's
get
positive.
Pinocchios and Ward 6.
There you
I
go.
really am. There's nowhere. But
Somewhere in town would be great.
We're going to build it.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
So, in the summer of 2020, you remember that?
Oh, fairly well.
Our council voted to reduce 9 police positions. We currently, so let me throw out some numbers. We're currently staffed at 162 officers,
Okay.
authorized at 171 officers, and the voters have twice approved the public safety sales tax to achieve a total of 189 officers. So, how do you propose to get us to a fully staffed department as approved by the voters of the city of Norman?
So I absolutely love this question. I don't work at a police department as of August 21, but up until then I did, and I did all the budgeting and financing. I was in all the administrative. I understand how police departments work, not just on a budgetary and financial, but what they actually do. And so this is the most bizarre thing to have worked at a police department and it to be so relevant to what I walked into 3 weeks later, being sworn in after that vote. What we need and what I have begged and pleaded with the city manager to try to do, hopefully we can get it on the budget for this year, is we need to do a public safety evaluation. Not a salary thing, and that's very important, and I understand that, but we need to do a public safety study. The only way that we are going to get both sides to kind of temper the flames is information. If we have some third party, external company evaluate this, our population, we are a mix of rural, urban, and so response times to the more rural is very high, and I don't like that for public safety. And I've even entertained the idea to Anthony Francisco and to Daryl. Do we need like little magnets, little substations? I think we're big enough now that we need more than one headquarters. So what we need is a study. We need someone to come in and say, you have this population, you have this square mileage, this is your response times, these are your calls that come in, and evaluate and give us that data. And I think that is the best way to move forward, because otherwise you have the public on one hand that thinks you don't need police officers, it's not a big deal, not half, but and then the other side, they just think, give them a Bearcat, give them whatever they want, sort of thing. And nobody's going to agree on it because they all have personal feelings invested. So remove the feelings, do a study, find out what we need. We may be And I do think this because I have done contracts for police presence on things and I know how to do it. Anyway, I do think we're even understaffed at the 189. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I don't think that's even enough for what we need. But the only way that we're going to know that is if we have an actual evaluation and not just people's feelings, because it's one side versus the other. I can't have that. Nobody's going to win, and it's just going to keep fighting. So let's do a study, figure it out appropriately, and then we could go to the public, because our public safety sales tax is grossly underfunded. We do need an increase in that. I'm very mad that it's a year and a half later and we still haven't put it to vote, but whatever. But if we are going to do that, then we need to present them with accurate information and not just feelings information.
Sure.
And so I think the only way to resolve the issue, get staffing, everything that we need, and even funding is via a study.
Okay, very good. Next question goes to some of what we talked about initially, which was this business growth, retention, and expansion of businesses. Okay, so the council has discussed business registration fees, utility connection fees, and other fees on businesses. What are your thoughts on these fees and your stance in general on business fees so that we can help retain and grow businesses?
Everybody hates fees. I don't necessarily like the word fees either, and I understand that. I do think the city needs to do much better at keeping a list of who our businesses are. I know that you do. You do that, but we don't necessarily do that, and we don't necessarily talk to each other in the way that we should. The city needs to be more invested because they're our bread and butter. They're what keeps the money coming in because we are dependent on them for their sales tax. And so I don't know if the best option is fees. I know that if you want to incentivize people to try to come in and stuff and be like, oh, and then here's our schedule of fees, maybe not the best sort of thing. I know that they pay fees to the chamber, and I'm not going to ask you how that works out for you.
Membership dues, sure.
Right, sure. Yep. I don't know if that's necessarily the best. I want to bring in as much business as we can. I think we have a lot of prime real estate that we could start bringing people in, and Oklahoma City has become very competitive. Their film industry, all sorts of stuff. If we want to try to attract that, I think that is an area that we should push the brakes on, trying to charge to bring people in.
Okay. Again, you mentioned the commuters, which we have a lot
Sorry,
of, right?
Oliver. I'm still on your question.
No, you, I mean, it dovetails really well into this discussion, and it's a real thing. And so people have choices. So this next question is dealing with that. So many of today's jobs are not static. People have choices where they can work, where they can raise a family. So what's your plan to provide a quality of life that is second to none so that Norman retains its current workforce and attracts new talent?
One thing that I think is very essential is our Norman Forward projects. I think having the Young Family Athletic Center come in, our aquatic center, our tennis courts, the things that we're trying to do and build, keep people here. I used to be a personal banker, all the different options, we called it get them sticky, right? We want to keep residents sticky. We want to keep them here. I do think Norman is a really, it's a big city, but it's a little town, you know, sort of thing. And I do think it has that, if you're not in politics, it has that family feel with one another. And I do think that we have great schools and people know that about us, and we don't have crime. That is not an issue. We're a very safe city. And so I think those things attract people, and I think that the more like Norman Ford projects and stuff that we have, their quality of life is the most important thing. I had some Girl Scouts ask me, well, how do you deal with angry people? And I just thought, I can answer that in so many ways. But what I said was the one thing that I have to keep in mind with anyone who's angry coming at me, like this is their home. They have invested their life, their family's being raised here. This is their quality of life, and this is what matters most to them. And it's sustaining that quality of life, adding things, keeping them drawn into Norman is the most important thing. And they want their kids to stay here. They don't want them to go off and, you know, live in Midtown,
Sure.
Oklahoma City, right? We want
Right.
to keep them here. And so I think that if we had more mixed-use housing, and I do think that is important, especially in core Norman area, I think that's very important. If we could attract these jobs and businesses that can pay what Oklahoma City could pay, then I think that we could keep our younger people here, our young professionals, and I think that's really important. Coming straight out of OU, we can keep them here in Norman. They don't have to move to Oklahoma City or Tulsa or Dallas or anywhere else. If we have the type of quality of life things that would keep them drawn here, I think is so incredibly important. So I'm ready for Norman forward too.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about some big issues: jobs, public safety, business expansion, retention, those kinds of things. So we may have already mentioned it, but maybe not. What do you believe is the biggest issue facing our community today, and what are your plans to address it?
I'm gonna take a sip for this one. So, you know, I've been talking with people lately about the fall of 2020, and not like the fall like in Rome, but it kind of felt that way too. The fall of 2020 was just a war zone in Norman. Politically, professionally, personally, a lot of people took great offense to many things that happened. It was very divided, and it wasn't in a little way. You know, normally people don't know what's going on in local government. Everybody knew what was going on. Everyone knew who I was, and nobody should know who I am. Nobody knows council members, you know, but they knew who I was. And I don't know how to get back to good. We need harmony. Everybody knows, you know, when I see news stories shared about Norman on Channel 9 or Channel 5 on Facebook, I read the comments and everyone's like, Norman's horrible. No, we're not. We're really not horrible. We are an amazing city. And I don't know what it is, but I know that our elected officials and our city bureaucrats need to lower the swords. I don't know what it's going to take. I know a lot of people think, oh, we need to go right of center or left of center. We need to be very progressive or very conservative. And I don't think that's the answer. I think I'm very moderate and in the middle. A lot of people like me. They don't, you know, they're fine with me because I've made both sides mad. And that's okay. I think that you're doing something right if you can see the greater good. And so I think that the city needs leadership, not just in council, but in business leaders, civic group organizations that see the greater good, that you can be very passionate about something. And clearly I'm very passionate about some of these things here. You can be passionate, but you can also see the big picture. You have to look a little bit past self and say, okay, are my personal feelings on this the most important thing? And that is what the city needs. That's the only way that we're gonna get there. We're not gonna do it name calling. We're not gonna do it by belittling or being dramatic and in the news. We just have to get back to that sense of community that we had prior to that.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers
Yeah,
your
that's
question.
great. No, that's awesome.
I'm a very peace, harmony kind of person, and
Absolutely.
whatever I can do to try to help, I've tried, and I will continue to try.
I think civic discourse is really important. So
Yes.
yeah, and doing it in a civil way.
Because we can't get Norman forward too if we're all mad at each other.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, as we wrap up, we're to our
Okay.
last questions. So, anything catch-all here you want to share with our members as we begin to close?
Just vote your conscience. Is that the one I'm looking at? You. I keep looking at you, but it's you. Vote your conscience. Whatever you choose to do on February 8th, just go out and vote. You know, I feel like we are fighting for the heart and soul of Norman right now, and that we need to get back on track in thinking about the bigger picture and the greater good for all residents. So whoever you vote for, me, not me, that's fine. Just go out and vote. Nobody can sit this one out. It's too important. So that's all.
If anybody has any questions, the best way to get in touch with you, either a website or Facebook.
I'm on Facebook, Foreman for Norman, or Foreman for Norman, word6 at gmail.com, or word6@normanok.gov. That one works too.
Okay.
So.
Very good.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
So much.
Well, appreciate everybody tuning in today for this council conversation or candidate conversation with our council candidates. Again, as Elizabeth said, I want to encourage everybody to get out and vote on February the 8th. Watch this video, watch others. Make sure you are educated and prepared to make a decision on February the 8th. Thanks so much.